Primordial Desolation. I am the Dragon Ancestor. I choose for the dragon race to retreat from the very beginning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 353, Brute. Everybody get out of here. Sun Wukong was disturbed so much that he tried his best but could not escape. He even fell into an endless tug of war, seeing that there were more and more snakes, insects, rats and ants flying towards him, and there were even countless of them swooping on Sun Wukong, biting madly. Even if it could not destroy Sun Wukong's indestructible body, it was constantly consuming his spiritual power. Seeing that he had succeeded, the King of Hell of the 10 Palaces took advantage of Sun Wukong to be trapped and once again stimulated the 6 paths of samsara, intending to forcibly absorb Sun Wukong into it and let him reincarnate. At first, the 10th Palace of Hell wanted to throw Sun Wukong into the reincarnation of the animal world, but he had no choice but to find that Sun Wukong was a spiritual creature of heaven and earth, and his spiritual energy was too heavy. The animal world could not absorb him at all, so he could only heaven and man will accept it, no matter what. As long as Sun Wukong can be reincarnated and die. Even Tathagata never allowed Sun Wukong to be reincarnated in the first place. How courageous you are! Shen Long naturally couldn't just sit idly by. He just used a fingertip spiritual force to pop up and bombard the 6 phantoms of reincarnation, instantly killing all the 10 kings of hell. Fly, boom. In an instant, the phantom of the 6 paths of reincarnation collapsed, and the evil ghosts and beasts that were entangled around Sun Wukong also completely disappeared under the brilliance of Shen Long's pure white lotus. These ghosts have been spiritually destroyed by the 10th Palace of Hell, and they are no longer alive. They cannot be reincarnated and can only wander around the underworld as unconscious ghosts forever. Being eliminated here is a kind of relief for them. Thank you, teacher. Sun Wukong was freed, and the golden cudgel in his hand suddenly extended to an extremely long length. With a roar, he swept across and knocked all the 10 kings of hell away, severely injuring them immediately. Come over. Shen Long led Kong Gong to catch them, forcibly captured them, and they all fell in front of Shen Long. God, please spare your life. We are blind and cannot recognize Mount Tai. If the Immortal has any instructions, just say it, but please don't use force. If this hell is destroyed, the cycle of all things in the 3 realms will collapse. The 10th Palace Hell King saw how extraordinary Shen Long was, and they all bowed their heads in submission. Although Emperor Fengdu has not yet appeared at this time, the 10th Palace King of Hell knows very well that the strength that Shen Long has shown now is simply not something that Emperor Fengdu can compete with. Shen Long didn't bother to torture them. Sun Wukong on the side was so anxious that he quickly stepped forward and asked, "Hand over the soul of Tang Xuanzang's monk. If he is allowed to enter reincarnation, I will smash this ghost nest today." Tang Xuanzang. The 10 kings of hell couldn't help but be startled, and then they all sighed. No one answered Sun Wukong's words. Tell me. Sun Wukong hit the ground hard with his golden hoop, causing the ground and Senryuo Hall to crack inch by inch. If you don't want bad luck, invite it truthfully. Shen Long gave a faint order, and then King Wang said in embarrassment, "Every reincarnation of Tang Xuanzang's soul is personally presided over by Buddhism and will not be controlled by us. Moreover, during Tang Xuanzang's reincarnation, his soul never returned to the underworld." So, King Wang did not dare to say any more when he said this. He saw Sun Wukong's face becoming more and more ugly. Sun Wukong's face was extremely cold, and he held the golden cudgel in his hand more and more tightly. In other words, old Sun's trip was in vain again. The King of Hell of the 10 Palaces was frightened. Looking at Sun Wukong's current appearance, I am afraid that he will explode at any time, completely destroy Senryuo Palace. Chapter 354, Don't be anxious, Great Sage. We can use the 6 paths of reincarnation to find out the whereabouts of Tang Xuanzang's soul. Please don't be angry. The king of Chujian quickly stopped Sun Wukong before he completely exploded. After saying that, The 10th Palace of Hell immediately hurriedly activated the 6 Paths of Reincarnation to check the whereabouts of Tang Xuanzang's soul. Soon, the king of Chujiang informed Sun Wukong that after Tang Xuanzang was killed, his soul flew to Zishanling Mountain Lingshanlian Temple. What about Tathagata's territory? When Sun Wukong heard this, endless anger suddenly rose in his heart. His eyes were red. Both the Buddha and the Jade Emperor were deceiving and suppressing him, and he hated them equally. Teacher, I implore you to go to the west with Lao Sun. Is it possible? If you were to accompany me, Tathagata might be able to relieve my grandson. Sun Wukong solemnly pleaded with Shen Long. He knew that if he went to Lingshan alone, he would probably be suppressed for another 500 years. Sun Wukong was not afraid of death, but the endless imprisonment and even the erasure of his memory becoming someone else's lackey is more difficult for him to accept than death. Okay, I can talk to you, the great sage, this great immortal, through the 6 Paths of Reincarnation. I just discovered that an immortal in the reincarnation of heaven and humanity seems to have many entanglements with the destiny of the great sage. Shen Long was about to agree, but King Chuzhong on the other side suddenly interrupted. What's the meaning? The old grandson is born to be raised, and he is alone and has no worries. Who can have a fate entangled with my old grandson? Sun Wukong frowned. She is an immortal in heaven. Now she has been cast into the realm of heaven and human beings and has been reincarnated. Her name is Zixia. We can only detect that there is an unfinished relationship between her and the great sage. As for what exactly it is, I am afraid only you, the great sage, know. The moment Sun Wukong heard the name Zixia, his spirit suddenly fell into a trance, as if he was struck by 5 thunders, and his thoughts stopped suddenly. Zixia ... What Zixia? Sun Wukong tried hard to recall, but he couldn't find any memory related to this name at all. Sun Wukong, it seems that all your lost memories have not been restored, and it is even more important than you imagined. When Shen Long saw Sun Wukong's appearance, he already understood in his heart. Damn it, who is this Zixia? Sun Wukong is extremely upset. Although he lost these memories, his subconscious seemed to be telling him that the memory of Zixia was very important and must be found. Teacher, I, Old Sunday, want to find the immortal named Zixia and retrieve his memory before resolving the tied bond. Sun Wukong struggled for a long time, and finally made up his mind. He really couldn't bear the torture of amnesia. To him, this was no less painful than the tightening curse. Even if eternal life cannot resolve the tightening curse, he must find his memory first. This is very good. Even if you die openly, it is better than living in the world without knowing anything. Moreover, your memory being forgotten may have nothing to do with the Jade Emperor, but is caused by yourself. Shen Long agreed with Sun Wukong's idea and said with approval, myself? I have lived a carefree and open life. Why should I forget this memory? Sun Wukong was even more puzzled after hearing this. Only you know this, Shen Long said meaningfully. Perhaps this memory makes you extremely painful and you are unwilling to recall it forever, so you chose to forget it completely. Chapter 355, Would my old grandson do such a cowardly thing? Sun Wukong murmured to himself, pondered for a long time, and finally made up his mind. Teacher, I'm going to set off right now to look for the purple clouds. Will you go with me? It doesn't have to be like this. Since this memory belongs to your past, it's up to you to find it yourself. I may not be able to help you. Shen Long refused, and he couldn't interfere with the causal bond between Sun Wukong and Zixia. Okay, I'll come back to you after I solve this Zixia memory. Sun Wukong no longer insisted. After asking King Chuzhong to find out where Zixia's reincarnation was, he immediately set off there. Immortal, do you have any other instructions? The King of Hell of the 10th Palace asked Shen Long cautiously. Their fear of Shen Long was far greater than that of Sun Wukong. However, Shen Long didn't even look at them and directly stood up and left the underworld. Although ignored by Shen Long, the 10th Palace, the King of Hell breathed a sigh of relief. It was better than being smashed by Shen Long in the underworld. But not long after Shen Long left, before the 10 palaces of hell had time to rebuild the underworld, Sun Wukong actually came back with murderous intent. And this time Sun Wukong was even more merciless. Wherever he saw, no matter whether they were wandering ghosts or reincarnated souls, he would wave his stick to kill them all. He was extremely vicious. The Luo palace could not escape, and this time it could be said that it was completely beaten. There was a pile of ruins. The 6 paths of reincarnation phantom of the 10th palace of hell had long been destroyed by Shen Long, and there was no way he could be Sun Wukong's opponent. But this time, Sun Wukong's murderous intention was even heavier, and the 10th palace of hell was quickly beaten to the point where he couldn't resist. Sun Dashing, what else do you want? If the fight continues like this, the underworld will be destroyed. If you have any requests, just ask for them. Don't just hit them with a stick. The 10th palace of hell completely collapsed and begged Sun Wukong to show mercy. Seeing that the 10th palace of hell surrendered, Sun Wukong's murderous intention subsided a lot. He stopped, looked at the 10th palace of hell coldly and asked, "Where did Sun Wukong go?" The 10th palace king of hell was completely confused by this question. Where has Sun Wukong gone? Don't make me ask a second time. Sun Wukong was so angry that he used his stick to break the pillars of the Luo palace. The underworld suddenly shook violently, and all the ghosts cried and howled, "Yanwosisi, great sage... Didn't you just set off to Beijuluzu to look for Zixia's reincarnation?" Call out. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Wukong immediately took off and flew away, disappearing from the same place. If it weren't for the devastated underworld, the 10th palace of hell would have thought that it was just a dream. This Monkey King, I don't know why he is so crazy. I thought it would be great to rely on a mysterious and powerful person. It wasn't until it was confirmed that Sun Wukong had left, King Wang said angrily, and his words were immediately echoed by many. The underworld has been destroyed and the city is like this. If you want to repair it, you don't know how much time it will take, and how many lonely souls will be lost. The ghost wanders away and cannot be caught. Everyone, I wonder if you have just discovered. At this moment, King Chakravartin said very uncertainly, Monkey Son, who came back just now, did not wear a tight band. As soon as these words came out, the 10th palace king of hell suddenly became quiet and recalled one after another. It seems that just as Wheel King said, the tight band on Sun Wukong's head has disappeared. It's true. Could it be that the monkey just now was not Sun Wukong? Chapter 356. After leaving the underworld, Shen Long found that Sun Wukong had already left for Beijuluzu. It was just as he said. He wanted to retrieve this memory by himself and end this cause and effect. In this world, I am afraid that there is no one who can make Monkey Son feel pain and even give up his memory on his own initiative. Shen Long had already guessed it. After he decided not to interfere anymore, he opened God's eyes and observed the movements of the prehistoric world. At this time, only more than 200 years have passed since the chaos in the heavenly palace in the prehistoric world. Buddhism and Taoism are secretly competing for the arrangement of the great cause of learning scriptures. It looks calm on the surface, but in fact there is a turbulent undercurrent. The Dragon clan also took advantage of the broken time to continuously push the clan's forces into the wilderness, competing with Xuanmen and Buddhism. The two major sects only dared to be angry and dare not speak out about this. I don't know how long it will take Sun Wukong to retrieve his memory. Before that, he must go back to the ancient times to arrange it. Shen Long thought about the Chaos Demon God. A crucial thought flashed through his mind. He immediately traveled through the heavens and the world and returned to the wild world. When Sun Wukong retrieved his memory, he finally gradually understood the painful reason why he chose to forget this memory in the first place. The prehistoric world, the Liaoshu River. At this time, General Xu, who was demoted to the Liaoshu River as a monster for violating the rules of heaven, was floating on the water, lazily looking at a monk who was at a loss on the river bank. Why are these Eastern monks so stupid that they all want to go to the West to get Buddhist scriptures? The curtain general said disdainfully. The young monk was puzzled. What did the donor mean by this? The monk on the other side of the river was full of questions. Besides the young monk, can the donor see any other pilgrims from the West? Of course I have, and you have to meet them soon. The curtain general laughed wildly. and the rolling quicksand on the bank suddenly condensed into a huge palm. He grabbed the monk into his hand and threw him into the quicksand river. The curtain general also threw himself into the river, and in a short moment later, a pair of ferocious and bloody skeletons floated on the surface of the Luo Hu river, moving with the waves. However, the head of the pilgrim was still looking stubbornly to the west, but his head was quickly rolled up by the curtain. The general took it away and polished it into a rosary. At the same moment, Kong Zhuan, who was observing all this in the sky, had no fluctuation in his expression. This is already the fourth life. When Jin Chanzi's suffering ends, that is when Sun Wukong's suffering ends. Teacher, you are here. Suddenly, Shen Long's voice suddenly came from behind, and Kong Zhuan quickly bowed behind him. You did a good job with Jin Chanzi. Shen Long was very satisfied, but there is one more thing that needs to be left to you. Kong Zhuan immediately responded, it's just what the teacher ordered, and it will be done. It's not difficult at all. You just need to negotiate with Hashan as Emperor Fengdu. Ask Heavenly Court for the location of Wuqi branch, and then tell me. When dealing with heaven, the identity of Emperor Fengdu is quite useful. Wuqi branch. Kong Zhuan thought hard for a moment, and then vaguely remembered that Wuqi branch was the demon that caused trouble to one side when Dayu was controlling the floods. But later, Dayu invited a powerful person, and the two combined forces to destroy Wuqi branch. Captured and sealed at the foot of Huiyan Mountain, Wuqizi could not cause trouble again. However, after the Fengshan tribulation, great changes took place in the ancient land. The land split and the ocean surged. Today, no one knows that Wuqizi was sealed. Where is Huiyan Mountain? Chapter 357. Countless years have passed. The sea has changed. The mountains and rivers have changed suddenly. Countless races have prospered and declined, and the Huiyan Mountains that suppressed the Qi branch do not know where they are now. There are rumors among the human race that Huiyan Mountain is located at the junction of the four major continents, and has sunk into the seabed as the continent collapsed in ancient times. There is another saying that the Wuqi branch has been killed by the powerful one long ago, and the Huiyan Mountain was flattened, and the Wuqi branch no longer exists in the world. But Shen Long knew very well that the so-called killing of Wuqizi was just a rumor. The spiritual connection between the four monkeys in the world was very keen, and they could clearly detect each other's life and death. If Wuqizi is killed, the six-eared macaque must have sensed it. As long as Wuqizi is still alive, the location of Wuqizi will definitely be discovered by relying on the reconstruction changes of the Earth's veins since the prehistoric times that Heavenly Court has mastered. Teacher, just rest assured and leave this matter to me. Disciple, I will definitely ask Nahashan to tell me the whereabouts of Wuqizi. Kong Zhuan accepted the order and immediately set off to fly to heaven. Shen Long took a look at the turbulent Luo Hu river below and the skeletal remains of the Buddhist monk who had just been swallowed, and then stood up and left. Jin Chanzi, it seems your suffering is not over yet. Heavenly Court, Lingxiao Hall Huiyan Mountain. Where did the human race stay? You suppressed the Wuqi branch. Emperor Hashan frowned slightly after hearing Kong Zhuan's request. Fellow Kong Zhuan, why are you looking for that Wuqi branch? Aren't you afraid of letting it out to cause trouble? The question of Emperor Hashan is just a brief test. Making trouble, fellow Taoist Hashan? Don't you think these words are ridiculous? Kong Zhuan sneered. When Wuqizi made a big fuss in the Hui River, he was just a Taiyu golden immortal, even if he had a breakthrough in his cultivation. After being suppressed for so many years, he was just a Taiyu a golden immortal. How could he be allowed to lift the flag? Can you bear the storm? Haha, I am just a little worried. After all, Wuqizi involves the safety of countless living beings in the prehistoric times. I am worried that too many living beings will suffer. Emperor Hashan casually found an excuse to smooth things over. It's just that Huiyan Mountain has long been missing. Opening the ancient land veins requires the assistance of this emperor and the immortals in heaven. I'm afraid. Kong Zhuan interrupted in a cold voice. What does this mean, fellow Taoist Hashan? My teacher Zhu Long personally requested it. Could it be that heaven is unwilling to give this face? That's not the case. It's just that before that, Heavenly Court owed fellow Taoist Zhu Long the cause and effect, and fellow Taoist Kong Zhuan naturally understood. Emperor Hashan actually wants to repay the cause and effect by opening the earth veins. Fellow Taoist Hashan is really a good calculator. My teacher took action to save Sanqing from Taiyi, and even saved Taoist Hashan's life. Fellow Taoist Hashan wants to repay this kind of cause and effect so easily. If the teacher comes to visit him personally, how will fellow Taoist explain it? Kong Zhuan's words were extremely cold and meaningful. As soon as he said these words, Emperor Hashan, who was eager to find out the cause and effect, suddenly woke up. Only then did he realize that he was too smart. If he angered Shen Long, it would be more gain than loss. Maybe just a cause and effect will lead to a catastrophe. Haha. I am just talking. Since it was requested by fellow Taoist Zhu Long personally, it is understandable that Heavenly Court is busy and vain. The great Emperor Hashan immediately changed his mind, and without waiting for Kong Zhuan's prompting, he immediately summoned all the immortals at the quasi-sage level in the Heavenly Court to gather on the 33rd heaven to open up the ancient world. Chapter 358. The prehistoric earth veins record the changes in the land, the immeasurable seas, and all things since the founding of the world by Panu. The information is so huge that even Emperor Hashan spent more than 50 years to finally find in the long river of history what had been destroyed. Where is the submerged Huiyin mountain now? Except for the transcendent and ordinary creatures without cheese, I cannot calculate their fate. I don't know whether they are alive or dead now. This can only be ascertained by Taoist Zhu Long himself. Emperor Hashan informed Kong Zhuan of the result, even though he was unwilling to do so. After Kong Zhuan learned about it, he immediately informed Shen Long of the matter with the messenger talisman. After learning the location of Wu Qizi, Shen Long immediately set off for I don't know what Wu Qizi will look like after countless years. Compared to Sun Wukong, who was suppressed for only 500 years, the years when Wu Qizi was suppressed are simply unimaginably long. To the north of the infinite sea, somewhere is the ocean that divides the east and west, different from the calm east, west and south seas. Since the ancient land was divided into 4 continents, the North Sea has been rough all day long with huge waves. Almost no living things can survive here. It can be said to be the most desolate place at the junction of east and west. Even because of the scarcity of spiritual veins here, no one from the Dragon clan practices here. It can be said to be a truly uninhabited area in the wild. At this time, Shen Long looked down from the sky above the sea area and saw that huge waves hundreds of feet high could be set off on the sea surface, and the sea wind that could destroy the mountain peaks was roaring continuously. Shen Long immediately discovered that this was not the natural force of the North Sea. Under the waves, there was a strange energy stimulating all this. This is where Huiyin Mountain sank. This must be the wave caused by Wu Qizi. Shen Long immediately made up his mind. As one of the 4 monkeys in the world, Wu Qizi was born with the ability to control the sea and flood the earth. If Dayu hadn't suppressed it, the floods that ravaged the wilderness would have been impossible. Painting. Although Wu Qizi was sealed under the Huiyin Mountain, it was obviously not possible to completely suppress his magical power. At least it could make the sea area never peaceful. But to Shen Long, these huge waves were not worth mentioning at all. He ignoring the strong waves and wind that could break the mountains. I went deep into the seabed for countless tens of thousands of feet, and finally found the sunken Huiyin Mountain under the sea. At this time, most of the Huiyin Mountain collapsed due to the changes in the ancient continent, but the bottom of the mountain was still there. It is well preserved, and you can still see the countless iron ropes left by Dayu when he suppressed Wu Qizi. Grudges turn into rashes, hatred turns into madness. There is no limit to the grass of resentment, and no limit to the water of hatred. Resentment fills my heart. How can I see it in the endless world? A hoarse voice full of endless hatred sounded from the foot of Huiyin Mountain and echoed continuously at the bottom of the North Sea, making the hair stand on end. Just by hearing its voice, you can hear the resentment and sorrow contained in it, as if you wish you could collapse the world and overthrow everything. Being imprisoned here for tens of thousands of years is really embarrassing for you. Shen Long looked at the endless abyss at the bottom of the sea, and saw the ragged Wu Qizi being trapped at the foot of Huiyin Mountain by countless chains. No matter how Wu Qizi struggled and tore desperately, There was still no sign of the prisoner's rope being broken free. On the contrary, every struggle would lead to waves of thunder and lightning bombardment, causing Wu Kaizi to scream in agony. Chapter 359. Who dare you come here? Wu Kaizi, with blood-red eyes and filled with resentment, discovered the approaching Shen Long, and suddenly became murderous. Over the past tens of thousands of years, countless people who overestimated their own capabilities have tried to come to the foot of Huiyin Mountain to kill him, but the final result, they were all torn into pieces by the resentful Wu Qizi. But since the conferred god calamity and the silence of Huiyin Mountain, no one has found this place again. The resentment and murderous intention accumulated in his chest for thousands of years have completely disappeared. Explode. Shen Long put his hands behind his back, smiling and staring at Wu Kaizi with blood-red eyes, as if he was admiring his meaningless struggle. No matter who you are, if you dare to come here, you will die. Wu Kaizi's angry roar resounded through the bottom of the sea, causing Huiyin Mountain to shake violently. Wow! The next moment, the sea water surged wildly, and suddenly gathered into two ferocious and violent dragons that were as big as hills. These two crazy water dragons opened their huge mouths and rushed at the same time, intending to swallow Shen Long into his belly. However, Shen Long just waved his hand casually, causing a violent shock in the sea, forcibly shattering the two water dragons. Not only that, the residual power spread out, and even cut off most of Huiyin Mountain. Boom! In an instant, Wu Kaizi was submerged by the collapsed rocks of Huiyin Mountain, but the next moment, a giant fist made of water shape struck out, shattering the rubble. Come to death! The furious Wu Qizi jumped up from the rubble and rushed towards Shen Long. But before Wu Qizi could get closer, Shen Long clicked his finger, and an invisible force came, blowing Wu Qizi away and hitting him hard. Under the seabed, it caused a violent shock crack. At this time, the prohibition of Huiyin Mountain was also activated, and the violent thunder gang suddenly swept over, bombarding Wu Qizi and screaming in agony. When you controlled the floods and sealed you here, not only did he fail to eliminate your anger, but you became even more like a violent beast. Shen Long said coldly. The resentment that filled Wu Kaizi's body was almost so strong that it could not be resolved at all. Court death. Wu Kaizi's fury did not diminish at all, and he was about to pounce on Shen Long again. But at this moment, he was shocked to find that his soul was restricted and could not activate any spiritual power. He had been suppressed at the foot of Huiyin Mountain for many years. The soul has never been banned before, but Shen Long did it so lightly that even Wu Kaizi himself didn't know when he was banned. You are a saint. At this moment, a rare fear rose in Wu Kaizi's heart. If he could easily restrain his soul, it would be easy to kill him. Saint? Shen Long sneered, and then slightly revealed his Taoist aura, which immediately shocked Wu Kaizi and made him have no intention of resisting. Are you here to kill me? For Wu Qizi, who is just a Daoyuo Jinxian, the heavenly Dao realm is like a god and cannot be resisted. If this emperor wanted to kill you, you would have turned into powder together with the Huiyin Mountain. With a thought in Shen Long's mind, the surging seawater around him suddenly turned into countless water blades, sweeping towards Huiyin Mountain like a sudden storm, instantly destroying all the prisoner magic ropes trapped in Wu Qizi's branches, without leaving a single one. Wu Qizi couldn't believe that the seal that had wrapped him for tens of thousands of years was broken so easily by Shen Long. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 360. Wu Kaizi, do you know that you are one of the 4 monkeys in the chaotic world, derived from the remains of the chaos demon ape? And there are 3 of your compatriots in this world. Shen Long opened his palms, and the natal auras from the cyprinid monkey and the 6-eared macaque emerged. At this moment, Wu Qizi actually had the same strange feeling as his life soul and blood connection. This was something Wu Qizi had never felt before. Noticed it, the broken body of the chaos demon ape. My compatriot. Does the immortal know my origin? There are actually people from the same lineage as me in the ancient world? Wu Kaizi was confused, and he also let go of his fear and wariness towards Shen Long, and asked pleadingly. Shen Long did not intend to hide it, and told all the ins and outs of the Chaos Demon Ape and the incarnations of the 4 monkeys in the world. Inform no Kaizi now, among the 4 monkeys in the world, the long-armed ape and the 6-eared macaque have become my disciples. If you are willing to be loyal to me, not only can you be taken away from here, but your cultivation will also improve by leaps and bounds. Shen Long's words really moved Wu Qizi. With Shen Long's cultivation level in the heavenly Tao realm, he couldn't refuse, not to mention that Shen Long had lifted the tens of thousands of years of seal for him. If Shen Long hadn't taken action, he is probably trapped under the Huiyin mountain and will be unable to escape until the end of the world. What's more, since he is one of the incarnations of the Chaos Demon Ape, being able to complement other incarnations will definitely make his cultivation path a step further. I am willing to join your door. Wu Kaizi did not hesitate, and immediately paid homage to Shen Long as his master and disciple, and begged Shen Long to become his disciple. Good. Shen Long nodded in approval, and he decided to hand over the Wu Qizi to Kong Zhuan for guidance. Then, Shen Long flicked his fingertips to eject a wisp of true dragon's blood and merged it with the Wu Qizi. This wisp of true dragon's blood instantly caused Wu Qizi's cultivation to skyrocket. In an instant, he broke through from the first level of Dao Wojingxian to the 5th level. His speed could be described as leaps and bounds. Ha 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 ha. Wu Qizi was so ecstatic that he jumped up and used the surging waves to turn into a giant hand, suddenly smashing the Huiyin mountain into pieces and collapsing. The magic restrictions in the Huiyin mountain had been erased by Shen Long. Wu Qizi updated it is because of the blessing of the blood of the true dragon that he is no longer suppressed by Huiyin mountain. Wu Qizi has long wanted to crush Huiyin mountain. The pain and resentment of being imprisoned under it for tens of thousands of years are simply unspeakable. Damn Dayu, he still wants to suppress me forever, but he doesn't know that now I'm freed from this seal with the help of my teacher. The resentment in Wu Kaizi's chest rose again. He suddenly flew out of the North Sea and swept the rolling North Sea with his supreme water control power, intending to spread it to the eastern and western continents and drown the human race. He knew that Dayu had died long ago. He had no way to take revenge, so he planned to use the rolling flood to cause the decline and destruction of the human race. This is the revenge he desires most after breaking free. This is the cause planted by Dayu, and today I am here to pay back his fruit. The turbulent and expanding seawater turned out to be like a curtain wall rising from the ground. It was 100 feet higher than the mainland and would be submerged at any time. Just when he was about to push the seawater to submerge the mainland, he suddenly realized that his cultivation to be restrained instantly. Wow! The seawater curtain wall that spread to a height of 100 feet on the land also calmed down. The North Sea calmed down rarely in tens of thousands of years and became calm. Chapter 361. Without cheese. Just because I have released you does not mean that you can do whatever you want. A huge whirlpool appeared on the surface of the North Sea that went straight to the bottom of the sea. Shen Long slowly emerged from the whirlpool and scolded Wu Kaizi with great dissatisfaction. Teacher, what are you doing? Wu Kaizi knew that this was Shen Long's method, so he quickly dropped from the sky to pay homage to Shen Long. Dayu has been dead for tens of thousands of years. Today's human race is one of the foundations of the ancient world and cannot tolerate your random slaughter. What's more, it was you who stirred up the rivers and lakes and caused harm to all living things on the earth. Countless races were exterminated due to it. Being imprisoned for tens of thousands of years is the consequences you deserve to bear. Shen Long sternly rebuked. Today's human race is too involved. Not only are there followers of Xuanmen and Buddhism, but there are also many believers who work for the Dragon Clan. Shen Long does not want to see the human race destroyed. That will only happen in the prehistoric times. Countless variables have been added to the already stable foundation. Disciple, listen to your orders. Follow your arrangements, teacher. Even Shen Long personally shouted to stop him, but Wu Kaizi completely gave up on this idea. Regardless of how easily Shen Long killed him, just rescuing him from the foot of Huiyin mountain made him extremely grateful. so he naturally obeyed his orders. Shen Long knew that Wu Kaizi at this moment had been completely conquered by him. Afterwards, Shen Long ordered Wu Kaizi to immediately leave for the underworld, where he would be instructed by Emperor Fengdu to practice and improve his cultivation. There is still a lot of room for Wu Kaizi's cultivation to advance, and Shen Long does not want to waste it. At this point, except for Sun Wukong, the 4 monkeys in the world, the 6-eared macaque, the long-armed monkey, and the Wookiee branch have all been subdued by Shen Long. Sun Wukong at the foot of the 5 Elements mountain is also inextricably linked to Shen Long. This is also unexpected reception when the calamity is over. Perhaps the Chaos Demon Ape can be reborn, Shen Long was thinking in his mind. However, it was still more than 200 years before Sun Wukong came out of the mountain. Shen Long once again entered the world of Wukong in all the worlds. Heaven. When Emperor Hashan saw Shen Long subduing Wu Kaizi, he was really puzzled. Wu Kaizi is just a demon with some innate skills, not even an innate creature. How can he be favored by Zhu Long? Emperor Hashan had doubts and informed Sanqing about the matter, hoping that Sanqing could give his opinion and make a decision. But to his surprise, Sanqing didn't take Wu Kaizi's matter to heart at all. Just one Sun Wukong gave them a lot of headaches. Shen Long was the only one responsible for the remains of the Chaos Demon Ape. Others could not have imagined how much potential these ant-like creatures contained, and they just thought that Shen Long was acting in vain. He is just a Wu Kaizi, not even a quasi-sage, so what is there to worry about? I thought that Wu Kaizi had been killed a long time ago. Even if he lives to this day, he will be of no use. If he dares to retaliate against the human race and damage my Xuanmen Foundation, I will destroy him both physically and mentally. Hashan, with the current threat from Buddhism, it's better not to worry about such small things. Sanqing sneered at this matter, and Emperor Hashan had no choice but to let it go. Zishan, Lingshan, Lian Temple. When Jiyin learned that General Roller Blind and Marshal Tan were demoted to the mortal world and became monsters because they violated the rules of heaven, and General Roller Blind even swallowed Jin Chanzi's reincarnation several times, he was immediately furious. Chapter 362. The Heavenly Court demoted General Roller Blind and Marshal Tan to the mortal world in public, probably just to allow them to interfere with the great cause of Buddhist scriptures and hinder the spread of Buddhist scriptures to the east. Jiyin was furious. He never expected that Emperor Hashan would resort to such means to disgust him. In order to attract the Buddha, from the perspective of a poor monk, it is better to kill the rolling curtain and the canopy directly to get rid of these 2 stumbling blocks. Anyway, they have no connection with the heaven now, and it is inconvenient for Hashan to cause trouble for my Buddhist sect because of this matter. Not only that, all the immortals who were demoted from heaven to the mortal world from now on will respond in this way. Randeng on the side suggested, how can this be done? This will only make all sentient beings in the world mistakenly think that I am a Buddhist who will do whatever it takes to achieve my goals and have a strong killing aura. I am afraid that I will lose my destiny as a Buddhist. Tathagata on the side immediately retorted, then let them hinder the great cause of learning. Tathagata, do you have universal love, or do you still have lingering thoughts about the Xuanmen? Randeng has long been accustomed to Tathagata refuting him on everything, and he retorted on the spot, burn the lamp. I don't want to argue with you. Everything I think about is for my Buddhism, not like you who only think about fighting. The Tathagata was so furious that the lotus platform he was sitting on even had lotus leaves floating in the air due to his mood swings. You too, enough is enough. Jiyin frowned when he saw this. Don't you guys have fought enough in Xuanmen, and you want me, Buddhism, to also get involved in an eternal fight? As soon as these words came out, Randeng and Tathagata immediately calmed down and stopped fighting. Tathagata, tell me, how should we respond? To solicit Tathagata's opinions. Although heaven had secret arrangements to attract the Buddha, Canopy and Roller Blind, who were demoted to the mortal world, did not know that they were pawns and must have resentment towards heaven. Wouldn't it be better for our Buddhist sect to seize the opportunity to lure them with arhat status, let them work for Buddhist scriptures, and transform into our Buddhist sect, so that all sentient beings in the wild can see Buddhism's ambition to reach all sentient beings, As soon as Tathagata said these words, Ji Yin's eyes suddenly lit up. Very good, very good. Nowadays, there are still many vacant arhat positions in Buddhism, so it is really a good idea to win over people's hearts. Ji Yin clapped his hands and laughed. Apparently he recognized Tathagata's method very much. Randeng obviously criticized this. His face was gloomy and he stopped talking. Then Tathagata summoned Taoist Sahang, who had already achieved the status of Guanyin Bodhisattva, and said let him come forward to enlighten all the immortals who were demoted to the mortal world by heaven. Those who can be included in the scripture gathering team are the best. Those who cannot be included are better off letting their hearts turn to Buddhism. At least let them be divided and hostile to the heaven. Buddha can rest assured. Sahang Taoist transformed into Guanyin, and immediately came to the world to enlighten the generals of the rolling curtain and the canopy who were demoted to the mortal world. Just as Tathagata expected, after losing the status of immortals, they could only become demons in the mortal world. When Lian heard that he would be rewarded with fruition status, he immediately expressed his stance to Taoist Sahang that he was willing to work for the great cause of Buddhist scriptures from now on. I am afraid that even the heavens did not expect that Buddhism would use such a plan to drain the fire. Wukong spreads the world. When Shen Long set foot here again, he found that the power of the world's core was much stronger than the last time. This shows that Wukong's world has made a key advancement. The most important thing that affects the advancement of this world is the evolution of Wukong's state of mind. It seems that Wukong has almost settled the cause and effect between him and Zixia. Chapter 363. Thinking of this, Shen Long followed the aura he left on Wukong and inquired all the way. At the same time, on a glacier somewhere in Luzhu, Beiju, Wukong looked disappointed, looking at the Zixia Yuanshan floating in the sky, and remained silent for a long time. Son Wukong, have you made up your mind? Zixia Yuanshan looked at Wukong reluctantly, with her heart twisting like a knife. In their previous life, heaven was in the way, and they had no chance. The cause and effect of this life has also ended here. If they say goodbye like this, they will have no chance to see each other again, whether it is the rest of their lives or the next life. Everything will stop here. It is better to forget each other than to help each other. Sun Wukong slowly closed his eyes and let out a heavy sigh. After Zixia's reincarnation, in order to retain the memories related to herself, she spent almost all her spiritual power, and her soul is about to collapse due to this huge burden. The only way is to completely let Zixia give up this memory, which is at least better than her physical and mental destruction. There is no point in missing each other. It's just farewell. If the farewell date is fixed, so what about all the suffering? Mo Dao was in ecstasy. Zixia's soul gradually floated away from the sky, and with her sigh, all memories about Sun Wukong were completely erased. From then on, Zixia's soul may still be immortal after countless reincarnations, but all the bonds between her and Sun Wukong stop here. It is better to forget each other than to help each other. The world is so big, where can we put it? At this time, Wukong no longer seemed to be the god of war who looked down upon the world and only had murderous and combative intentions, but became an ordinary man burdened by his past and present lives. At this moment, Wukong's state of mind changed drastically. I didn't expect that a husband like you would be burdened by love. It's really hard to see. Suddenly, the void behind Wukong opened, and Shen Long appeared, staring at Sun Wukong with a faint smile. Long time no see, teacher. Wukong forced a smile, but the confusion and heartache in his heart could not be cleared away. All of this is the cause and effect left by Lao Sun 500 years ago, and Zixia suffered a lot. It turns out that 500 years ago, Wukong had an affair with Zixia before causing trouble in the heavenly palace, but Wukong pretended to turn a blind eye and ignored Zixia. It wasn't until after the riot in the heavenly palace that Zixia Mantis tried to protect Wukong like a chariot, but was eventually destroyed and fell into reincarnation. Wukong regretted it all, but it was already too late. Tormented by heart-gnawing pain, Sun Wukong chose to forget this memory, hoping to free himself, but he was always entangled in cause and effect. So far, even though the painful memory has returned, His relationship with Zixia has been completely resolved. Lao Sun once thought that I could go anywhere in this world and be alone without any worries, but now I realize that these bonds can only be released by forgetting them. Wukong was speechless in the end, and one can imagine the depression in his heart. Now that things have happened, do you just regret it? It's not because of you that caused all these consequences. Shen Long meant a lot. As soon as he said this, Wukong was shocked and his thoughts were racing. He suddenly realized that the reason why Zixia died was not because he ignored this relationship, but because the gods and Buddhas in the sky wanted to suppress it. He and Zixia who protected him were also killed. What really caused Wukong and Zixia to suffer such separation were the gods and Buddhas who were all over the sky and dominated all things. It was all because they wanted to control all things. Chapter 364. I see. If it weren't for the Jade Emperor and Tathagata who deceived and suppressed Lao Sun, how could things have ended up like this? Wukong's eyes were blood red, and the anger in his chest rose. Wukong, now you finally know what to do. When Shen Long saw this, he knew that Wukong had understood. Wukong gritted his teeth and laughed angrily. Old Sun knows that the gods and Buddhas in the sky will be angry, but do these gods and Buddhas know that all living beings will also be angry? I have nothing, and the gods and Buddhas want to deprive Lao Sun of his only concern and ignore me with arrogance. Now I want to make the gods and Buddhas in the sky cry and regret. If the sky presses on me and splits the sky, if the earth restrains me and crushes the earth, we are born free. Why should those gods be so high above us? The golden cudgel in Wukong's hand fell suddenly, shattering the iceberg dome. The broken crack spread tens of thousands of feet in an instant, and the iceberg was on the verge of falling. Teacher, this disciple is alone and weak. Please give me a helping hand. Wukong bowed to Shen Long as master and disciple, and begged in a deep voice. Shen Long stared at Wukong for a long time, and then slowly said, "How do you want me to help you? Let the gods and Buddhas disappear into thin air." Wukong said solemnly, murderous intent surging in his eyes. "I can help you." Shen Long could already see that Wukong was no longer fighting for his own arrogance at this time. He was fighting to make all those high-ranking gods and Buddhas come down from the altar and completely lose their divinity to deceive all living beings. At this time, Wukong is the real god of war, not a husband who can only wave a stick arrogantly. Teacher. Before that, Wukong was very pleased, and when he was about to say something, his expression suddenly became very solemn. He vaguely sensed that something was approaching between heaven and earth, carrying majestic killing intent and anger. Son Wukong. A roar full of anger resounded through the sky, and the next second, countless golden phantoms fell from the sky, like a meteor shower. Each of these golden flashes turned out to be a golden cudgel falling from the sky. Shen Long frowned, waved his palm lightly, and a strong wind suddenly blew up around him, blowing away all the falling light spots, and no one could get close. But Wukong was not as easy as Shen Long to deal with it, and the golden cudgel in his hand he took turns to block and dodge to save himself. "Who? Get out of here, old son." Wukong was extremely furious, but when he looked up at the sky, he was suddenly horrified. On the sky, there appeared a person who looked exactly like Wukong, with no difference. That Wukong also held a golden cudgel. But unlike Wukong, there is no tight band on his head. Six-eared macaque? Shen Long shook his head and denied this idea. He initially thought that this Wukong was the six-eared macaque in this world, but it was impossible for the six-eared macaque to hide its disguise from the saint. Regardless of the cultivation level of that Wukong, or the aura, which is no different from Wukong at all, not a pretender at all. It was you who disguised yourself as Lao Sun and beat Tang Xuanzang to death. After Wukong woke up from the initial shock, he was so angry that he almost trembled all over. Ridiculous. Don't tell me that you still have feelings for that monk, but you are looking forward to his death all the time. The Wukong in the sky laughed loudly, and the laughter was full of contempt and arrogance. Chapter 365. Nonsense. If Old Sun wanted to kill him, he would have done it himself. It would not be your turn, a fake, to point fingers, and you would have to pretend to be me, Old Sun. Wukong was furious and filled with murderous intent. Whether it was because Tang Xuanzang was killed or because this unknown rat was disguised as himself, He was already furious. Camouflage, who said I was pretending? I am Sun Wukong, just like you. Wukong smiled coldly. His words had profound meaning. Just kidding. Lao Sun wants to see what kind of flat-haired beast you are. Wukong was disdainful and activated his fiery eyes, but he could not see through the true face of the fake Wukong at all. Under his fiery eyes, the latter had no disguise at all, but his true body was exactly the same as himself. Wukong was even more surprised. What's strange is that the aura, cultivation level, and even the golden cudgel in his hand of the fake are exactly the same as his own. No different. How is this possible? This demon's disguise method is extraordinary. Even old Sun can't see it. Wukong frowned, and for the first time he even doubted whether his flaming eyes were malfunctioning. Wukong, don't waste your efforts. He is not pretending. This is his true nature. Shen Long narrowed his eyes slightly. He had already seen through the original face of the other Wukong. It was the result of Wukong being suppressed at the foot of the Five Elements Mountain. After losing his memory, he was extremely eager to be freed from the Golden Hoop curse, and was born from this. The inner demon. This inner demon and Sun Wukong are one and the same. There is almost no difference between the two. However, after Sun Wukong endured the tight restraint, he was extremely eager to get rid of its shackles, so the inner demon that emerged from his body did not tighten. Hoop. Shen Long told Wukong all this, which immediately shocked the latter. That's it. No wonder Lao Sun can't see through his disguise. Wukong looked at his inner demon again, only to see the latter staring at him with murderous intent, as if he wanted to kill him in the next second. Wukong asked, "Hey, since you and I, old Sun, are from the same body, why did you kill the Tang monk? You should have killed the monk with your own hands a long time ago and freed yourself from this impossible path to seek Buddhist scriptures, instead of waiting for me to take action myself. I'm just doing what you should have done long ago." The inner demon's eyes flashed with a trace of cruelty. When you endure the torture of the journey, I can't escape either. Ridiculous. Where does Lao Sun need your pointers? Even if Lao Sun wants to kill the monk, he still has to do it himself, and it's not your turn yet. You are just an incarnation of Lao Sun. The golden cudgel in Sun Wukong's hand spun like flying, and suddenly hit the glacier at his feet, causing cracks in the glacier to spread and collapse layer by layer. Incarnation? That's just the past. As long as you die here today, I will be my true body, the real Sun Wukong. From now on, Sun Wukong is still the Monkey King, the Monkey King who smashes the sky and kills all gods, instead of a dog walking on the westward road. The inner demon's eyes gradually became crazy, and he actually had the idea of killing Sun Wukong. Shen Long couldn't help but thought to himself, it seems that no matter what, the inner demon hates learning the path as much as Sun Wukong, and has no desire to kill Tang Xuanzang. It's very consistent. Perhaps everything this inner demon has done is what Sun Wukong once wanted to do. I am not a dog, and it is not your turn to tell me what to do. Chapter 366. The gods in the sky will naturally settle accounts with them. Today I will collect the debt for Tang Xuanzang's murder from you. You are just a demon in my heart. The next moment, Wukong wielded the golden cudgel to kill the sky, and immediately fought to the death with the inner demon. Teacher, I beg you not to take action. Lao Sun must kill this inner demon with his own hands. At this moment, a message from Sun Wukong reached his ears, pleading to Shen Long. I won't take action, no matter who wins in the end between you and this inner demon. Everything depends on you. Shen Long knew in his heart that if this inner demon was not killed by Sun Wukong himself, even if it could be destroyed for a while, more inner demons would be born in a steady stream in the future. The battle between Wukong and the inner demons entered an extremely fierce battle, but the cultivation level and methods of the two are almost the same, but neither one can do anything to the other, unable to gain the upper hand. Soon, the glacier under his feet gradually collapsed and destroyed, and finally turned into a pile of ice ruins. Wukong's 7 Tai-2 transformations. The methods were used frequently, but the inner demons also responded with the corresponding countermeasures in the 7 Tai-2 transformations. In the end, the momentum of the battle between the two became more and more powerful, and the land of Beijuluzu collapsed. The iceberg was destroyed inch by inch, And even because of the two, the fierce battle melted into a rolling river. This battle was after the chaos in the heavenly palace. Wukong once again fought with all his strength without reservation. But the enemy he faced this time gave Wukong almost no hope of victory. There is no strength gap between the two sides at all, and even Wukong is like fighting his reflection in the river, unable to win. This is the first time that Lao Sun has encountered such an opponent today. Wukong was extremely angry. Only Shen Long, who was watching the battle, saw the clues. He knew that if Wukong continued to fight like this, he would not be able to win at all. Wukong remembers that it is your inner demon, not your true self. Your greed, resentment and hatred will all affect your inner demon. Shen Long's message suddenly made Sun Wukong sober as if he was enlightened. So that's it. Wukong was overjoyed. The last layer of window paper in his heart had been broken. At this moment, Wukong's state of mind underwent a huge change. What happened? The inner demon who was fighting suddenly realized that Wukong's hatred of almost all things was gradually dissipating. These hatreds of all things in the world lasted for more than 500 years, from the time when Sun Wukong was suppressed at the foot of the Five Elements mountain until he embarked on the path of seeking scriptures. The resentment was gradually diluted and eliminated. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The inner demon was greatly panicked. His existence was due to these soaring resentments. Now that Sun Wukong has voluntarily given up his resentment, it means that the source of his birth has also disappeared. The inner demon's cultivation level has dropped sharply, and he was soon killed by Sun Wukong. Deadly suppression. Wukong has completely mastered the way to win. Until the end, he doesn't even need to take action. The appearance of the inner demon has regressed back to the appearance when the monkey was just born from the stone, with all his magic power lost. Faced with this appearance, Wukong no longer needs to fight his inner demons. The inner demons are just like a helpless monkey, huddled aside and trembling. How did you let go of your hatred? Killing Tang Xuanzang was obviously your original intention. The inner demon looks up to Wukong in despair. Zhu Beiji, the idiot, Lao Sha, who worked for heaven until his death, and Tang Xuanzang, the monk, like Lao Sun, they are all pawns oppressed by gods. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 367. In this case, why should Lao Sun hate them? Wukong has never been so calm. In the end, the inner demon sighed. Before Wukong could take action to kill him, he had turned into a ray of light and merged into Wukong's body. Wukong had been able to control the inner demon, so the two could merge into one. Controlled and driven by Wukong, after absorbing the inner demon, the last shortcoming in Sun Wukong's cultivation was also made up, and his realm skyrocketed. No body tree, nor stand mirror. There is nothing in the first place, so where is the dust? Wukong came to Shen Long and bowed respectfully. Thank you, teacher, for your guidance. If Shen Long hadn't broken through his inner demons, he might have been unable to resolve his inner demons even if he fought to the death. If you don't get rid of your inner demons today, the inner demons will kill you instead. Eventually, the inner demons will arouse all your resentments to the extreme. At that time, you will no longer be the competitive Monkey King, but will completely turn into a monster who only knows how to kill and take revenge on all living beings. Shen Long narrowed his eyes slightly. Wukong's state of mind in this world is too complicated. It's a pity that Tang Xuanzang's monk still died in the hands of his inner demon. If he could get rid of his inner demon earlier. How is this going? Sun Wukong inadvertently touched the top of his head, but was surprised to find that the tight band on his head had long since disappeared. I'm afraid that the inner demons are inextricably related to your tight hoop. The Buddha used the existence of the inner demons to form a tight hoop to control you. Now that the inner demons are eliminated, the tight hoops naturally no longer exist. This type of control method requires the use of your inner demons as a medium. If you cannot break through the karma of your inner demons, I am afraid that the Buddha will not be able to get rid of your tight ties. Shen Long thought for a moment and figured this out. In this case, Lao Sun saved himself? Ha 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 ha. Wukong was in a great mood. All the gloom that had accumulated in his heart before disappeared. The clouds cleared and the sun finally came to light. He finally got rid of the last shackles imposed on himself by Buddhism. Teacher, now that the inner demon has been eliminated and the tight band has been removed, Lao Sun will go to the top of the Kunlun Mountains and destroy the heavenly decree that controls the fate of all living beings. As long as there are no heavenly decrees, heaven can no longer arbitrarily tamper with the fate of all living beings, and by then they will completely lose their divinity. Wukong said in a deep voice. He actually wanted to destroy the foundation of heaven. But Wukong was alone and his cultivation was far from enough. Even if he could kill Kunlun Mountain, he would not be able to destroy the order of heaven. Shen Long did not hesitate. Agree, I will go with you. It's easy to destroy the mere Tanqiao order. At the same moment, Jiao Liao's Wang, after Zhu Beiji left the scripture-seeking team, he traveled day and night, and finally rushed all the way back to Jiao Liao's Wang, which he had longed for. But when Zhu Beiji arrived at Jiao Liao's Wang with great joy, he was horrified by what he saw in front of him. All the humans in Jiao Liao's Wang have turned into monsters with human bodies and pig heads, just like Zhu Beiji. And Jiao Liao's Wang has become isolated from the world and no longer communicates with the outside world. The people of the village have changed from the original simplicity to arrogance, cruelty and rejection of all outsiders. After the shock, Zhu Beiji hurriedly looked for the villagers of Jiao Liao's Wang to ask what happened. It turns out that since Zhu Beiji followed Tang Xuanzang to the west to learn Buddhist scriptures, Jiao Liao's Wang suddenly placed an inexplicable curse overnight, turning everyone into monsters like Zhu Beiji. Chapter 368. At first, the villagers struggled to find a way to break it, looking for alchemists and magicians everywhere, but in the end, without exception, they were told that this curse originated from heaven, and they were neither able nor dared to break it. Zhu Beiji fell into a daze and fell outside the gate of Jiao Liao's Wang's manor, puzzled. I have already turned into a pig. Why are you still forcing yourself on me? Zhu Beiji held his head in extreme pain, but at this moment, 7-colored light descended from the sky, and the immortals from heaven arrived above the supreme manor. Zhu Beiji, you have committed serious crimes. You should have protected Tang Xuanzang to obtain Buddhist scriptures in the West to eliminate your guilt. But now you run away and shirk your responsibility, causing Tang Xuanzang to be killed by Sun Wukong. Following the orders of the Jade Emperor, we will punish you for all your crimes and kill you on the spot. The voice of the law enforcement gods was cold and devoid of any emotion. Then their eyes fell on Jiao Liao's Wang. All the villagers who had been cursed to turn into pig-headed men knelt down and begged the law enforcement gods, let the gods be at peace and lift our curse. We have never been disrespectful to heaven. Please don't punish us anymore. We realize our mistake and ask heaven for forgiveness. The people of the village were desperate for survival one after another, but the law enforcement gods were still frosty. In Jiao Liao's Wang, the pig-headed man-demon is rampant, so we must kill him together with Zhu Beiji to avoid harming all living beings. Ha 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 ha. Zhu Beiji's crazy laughter sounded again, and he raised the rake in his hand and pointed it directly at the law enforcement god above the clouds. Although I am a pig, I will not let you slaughter me. 5 thunders fell from the sky, violently bombarding Jiao Liao's Wang, and instantly plunged Jiao Liao's Wang into a sea of fire. The top of Kunlun Mountain. When Shen Long and Wukong reached this point, all the gods along the way were no match for Wukong, who had recovered his mana. They were completely crushed and killed by Wukong mercilessly. Even if it is a powerful immortal that Sun Wukong cannot deal with, Shen Long can make his soul fly and annihilate with just a casual touch. These gods who are above all things and act recklessly finally feel the fear of approaching death at this moment. Under the threat of death, the gods are no more noble than ants. They will either flee like birds and beasts, or be crushed into dust. Happy. Today, Lao Sun finally got to see that these aloof gods are more afraid of death than ants. Ha 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 ha. On the top of Kunlun Mountain, the gods who were finally guarding Tanqiao were all begging for mercy before Shen Long could take action. We are willing to hand over the decree of heaven and ask the immortal not to kill us. After tens of thousands of years of practice, please ask the venerable master to measure up. The gods took the initiative to retreat and obediently opened the heavenly order on the top of Qilin Mountain. At this moment, on the top of the Qilin Mountains, the sun and the moon appeared together. The light from the sun and the moon shone on the top of the mountain at the same time. The order of heaven, which was regarded as the foundation of heaven, appeared in this world. The rule of heaven is one: respect heaven and earth and abide by heaven's will. The second rule of heaven is to stay on the right path and avoid evil thoughts. The third rule of heaven is to abide by the way of heaven and not act against it. The fourth principle of heaven is to practice good deeds and not to follow wrong paths. The fifth rule of heaven is, do not climb the realm of cultivation and do not deceive all living things. Heavenly Rule 6. Walk the great road of heaven and guide all living beings. 7 Heavenly Rules. Universally save all sentient beings and focus on the common people. Tian Ling appeared in the world, and a burst of Sanskrit singing seemed to come from outside the sky. Chapter 369. To guide all living beings, to save all living beings, to put the common people first. What an irony! You immortals in heaven regard the rules of heaven as the laws of the world, but treat all things as dogs and trample on them at will. Have you ever obeyed this rule? Shen Long glanced over and saw all the Tian Ling, but he couldn't help but sneer. All things are born free. Who dares to be superior? You gods deceive all living creatures and you really deserve to be killed. Wukong hit Qilin Mountain hard with his golden hoop, causing the mountains to tremble and shake. Immortal, great sage, please calm down. The immortals did not dare to argue with him, and hurriedly lowered their heads and did not dare to say anything. Teacher, please destroy it. Wukong looked at Shen Long and sincerely requested, since the immortals regard the heavenly rule as nothing and only use it to restrain and control all things, it is useless to keep it. The spear of destiny appeared above Shen Long's head, and the power of the terrifying laws contained in it made all the immortals frightened and trembled. The level of heaven in the prehistoric world is much higher than this world, and Shen Long's methods came from the prehistoric world. There is simply no such thing in this world. Imagine the power. The immortal will show mercy. The order of heaven was formed when Pangu opened the world. It is the foundation of heaven and cannot be destroyed. This is the destiny of heaven and earth. Please keep it in mind. The immortals saw Shen Long's intention and were immediately horrified. Since you don't want the order of heaven to be destroyed, how about you have the courage to die and I will never destroy the order of heaven? Shen Long joked. The immortals who had been pleading just now were immediately overjoyed and no one said anything. Although the immortals talked about the order of heaven and earth and the creation of heaven, it was obvious that they cherished their 10,000 years of cultivation more. Snort. When Shen Long saw this, he stopped talking nonsense. The spear of destiny shot out of the air and hit the Danqiao order. Boom. In an instant, violent power burst out, and violent ripples rolled up in the space. The top of Qilin Mountain was instantly flattened, and the Danqiao order, which controlled all things and could modify the fate of living creatures at will, was destroyed. At this moment, all the clouds and mists in the sky were gone, scattered. The heaven that was high and mysterious in the eyes of all living beings was in full view. All living beings in the 3 realms suddenly realized that an invisible binding force trapped on them suddenly dissipated, and from then on, their fate was completely freed from the shackles. No one can change their fate again. The immortals on Qilin Mountain left in a hurry. They knew that the gods in heaven had lost their divinity. From now on, except for powerful cultivation, there is no other way to dominate all things. And as all things in the world gradually become more powerful, once their cultivation surpasses that of the gods, they can crush the heavens, and the majesty of the heavens no longer exists. Back then, if Old Sun had this ability, why would he need to be trapped under the 5 elements mountain for 500 years? Ha 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 ha. Okay. That's it. Zhu Beiji was originally ordered to change his destiny and was cast into a pig fetus. Now he should be back in human form. That Zhu is looking forward to finding Yu day and night. Watching the Danqiao order being destroyed, Wukong was so happy that he immediately went down to Jiao Wang to look for Zhu Beiji. Idiot! Idiot! Get out of here, Old Sunday. You owe Old Sun a huge debt this time. When Wukong came to the sky above Jiao Wang, he was stunned. At this time, Jiao Liao's Wang had turned into ruins, and the ground was full of burnt corpses. Chapter 370. Outside Jiao Wang, Zhu Beiji's body was lying in a patch of weeds. His protruding belly was penetrated and the blood had long since dried up. Even so, Zhu Beiji's dull eyes were still staring at the moon in the sky. From then on, he never had the chance to look at Yu from afar. Wakang came to Beiji's side silently. After a while, he sighed heavily. Idiot. Why don't you wait? I almost saved you. Under the gods, all living beings are suffering, and no one can escape it. The more we seek change, the gods make everything more miserable. Shen Long couldn't help but shake his head, and then he called Taoist Wu Zin out. Taoist Wu Zin asked, "Fellow Taoist, what do you want me to do?" Shen Long said calmly, "Go to heaven and let the gods feel the feeling of being toyed with their fate. Taoist friends, you can rest assured." Taoist Wuxin sneered, and then turned into a stream of light and flew up to the sky. The gods in the court didn't know what kind of misfortune they were about to face. "Teacher, thank you. It's a pity that this idiot wants to change back to human form until he dies, and goes to the Moon Palace to see Yu." Wakang knew that Shen Long was doing this for him, so he thanked him softly. "It doesn't matter, there are enough immortals to bury him with him." Shen Long said lightly, "Don't forget, Wakang and Buddhism." "Teacher, please accompany Lao Sun to set off." Wakang picked up his fingertips, and a wisp of fireworks shot out from his fingertips, burning Zhu Beiji's body into ashes. Then, Shen Long and Wakang set off to the west again. This time, Wakang was not going to get the true scripture, but for God's way. Zishan, Lingshan Lian Temple. When Danxia was destroyed, Lian Temple, which had been peaceful for tens of thousands of years, fell into panic for the first time. Bodhisattvas and arhats did not expect that the once glorious heaven would fall to this point. Then Sun Wukong did not know where to find such helpers. They were so powerful and terrifying. With Sun Wukong's hatred for heaven and Buddhism, how could he let Buddhism go? If that Shen Long came to kill Lingshan, no one could stop him. But when Jin Chanzi heard about this, he was extremely pleased. "Wakang, you really did not disappoint me. I've been waiting for this moment as teacher. I don't know how long I've been waiting." At that moment, Jin Chanzi immediately set off to Lian Temple to meet the Buddha. At this time, Buddha was worried about Sun Wukong. Seeing Jin Chanzi meeting him at this time, he felt very unhappy in his heart. "Buddha, if according to the bet between us, the disciple should win this time, what do you think?" Jin Chanzi bowed deeply to the Buddha and said with a smile, "So what?" The Buddha frowned. "Even if you win, I am still the Buddha, but you still have no chance to save all sentient beings. Why do disciples come in person to save all sentient beings? If Wukong can do it, what's the harm in having him come to save all sentient beings?" Jin Chanzi is still smiling. "Tell me what you want." It was the first time that Buddha looked at Jin Chanzi face to face. He suddenly realized that he had never really known his disciple in hundreds of years. Jin Chanzi said seriously, "I want to say goodbye to Lingshan and go east, and say goodbye to Lian Temple from now on." "No." The Buddha shook his head and refused, and then announced Jin Chanzi's fate to Lingshan. "All Buddhists, listen. Jin Chanzi has been reincarnated for 9 lifetimes to study the scriptures, but his character is still insufficient. He has been scornful of the Dharma so far. He needs to be thrown into reincarnation and go through reincarnation for 10 more lifetimes before he is allowed to enter the Lingshan mountain." "Buddha, I'm really sorry. My disciple is very disappointed in you." Jin Chanzi sighed and shook his head slowly. Chapter 371. Disappointment? "I am truly and deeply disappointed in you. As a member of the Buddhist sect, and even more so as my direct disciple, you openly question Buddhism and despise the scriptures. Even I can't protect you." Buddha's voice was full of anger, as if he was pouring out all his anger towards Jin Chanzi. He originally had a bet with Jin Chanzi, and Sun Wukong would never be able to eliminate his inner demons by himself, let alone escape. Bound by a tight curse. If Jin Chanzi wins, the Buddhist scriptures written by Jin Chanzi will be introduced to the East. If the Buddha wins, the Buddhist scriptures will be introduced to the East. Buddha initially thought that Sun Wukong was just he is an arrogant and ignorant husband, whose state of mind is difficult to evolve, so he agreed to this bet. But the result was completely unexpected. Although these two Buddhist scriptures are both from Buddhism, their contents are very different. The authentic Buddhist scriptures were written by the Buddha himself. However, the Buddhist scriptures written by Jin Chanzi raise many questions about traditional teachings. If Jin Chanzi's scriptures were passed eastward, even if they could play a role in spreading Buddhism, it would probably be far lower than what the Buddha expected, and even make many disciples who already believe in Buddhism question Buddhism. It is naturally impossible for the Buddha to allow such scriptures to be introduced into the Eastern land. Buddha, why are you like this? Needless to say more, Jin Chanzi already understood the Buddha's intention and couldn't help but smile bitterly. You think this is for the sake of Buddhism? But have you ever thought about the deceived common people? Buddhism is the supreme way and does not need to be questioned. You, Jin Chanzi, have no such power. The Buddha showed no mercy and immediately ordered the Arhat to take the golden cicada into reincarnation. But at this moment, Lingshan was suddenly stirred up by a violent agitation. The Buddha's light shrouding the sky of Lingshan suddenly dispersed, and the layers of auspicious cloud shattered. Lord Buddha, Lao Sun will come to you personally to settle the accounts of 500 years. A roar that resounded through the sky immediately made the spiritual mountain tremble, and tens of thousands of Buddhist disciples were frightened. Sun Wukong is here. Countless Buddhist disciples were horrified. They knew that heaven had been destroyed by Wukong and the mysterious masters around him, but they didn't expect that it would be Lingshan's turn so soon. Sun Wukong has been pressed under the five elements mountain for 500 years and still has no regrets. Today I will let him wake up. The Buddha sneered, and then ordered the Arhats to take Jin Chanzi into custody and personally deal with Wukong. At the same moment, at the foot of Lingshan Mountain, countless Buddhist disciples were killed by Wukong and were defeated one after another. Even the 108 Arhats were like mantises using their arms as chariots, unable to stop Sun Wukong even half a step. Sun Wukong, I spared your life 500 years ago, but today you come to Lingshan to seek death again. On the Lingshan mountain, 36 bodhisattvas appeared and glared angrily at Sun Wukong. At this time, these bodhisattvas all sacrificed their own spiritual treasures in their hands, intending to kill Sun Wukong in one fell swoop. If it were 500 years ago, old Sun was against you are still a little afraid, but now, Sun Wukong sneered and threw the golden cudgel in his hand towards the sky. In an instant, Sun Wukong transformed into 36 incarnations and fought with the bodhisattvas all over the sky. These external incarnations were not inspired by Sun Wukong's 7 Tai-2 transformations, but the magic of external incarnations that he realized on his own after fusing his clones. Chapter 372. Especially after Shen Long assisted and gave him guidance, the fighting power of Sun Wukong's external incarnation was greatly increased, and he could even inherit 70% of Sun Wukong's fighting power. Wukong, I will help you. Shen Long looked at the chaotic battle situation. With a wave of his hand, 36 spiritual powers shot out and merged into the mutual clones, instantly causing the power of Wukong's clones to skyrocket. In this way, the many bodhisattvas became more powerful. He was no match for them. After a fierce battle, he was beaten back and forth and was completely unable to fight. They could hardly imagine that 500 years ago, Wukong, who even allowed them to manipulate them at will on the way to obtain the scriptures, could actually kill them now. The man fell on his back and the horse fell over. How can you be as arrogant as you want on this spiritual mountain, Sun Wukong? If you anger the Buddha and come out to deal with you personally, I'm afraid you won't even have a chance to fall into reincarnation. The group of defeated bodhisattvas shouted harshly at Sun Wukong, but they were so angry that Sun Wukong couldn't be interested at all. Lao Sun came here today to seek revenge on the Buddha. It would be just right if he came forward in person. If you don't want to die, just get out of here, otherwise I won't even let you go. Sun Wukong, whose anger was soaring to the extreme, struck a temple instantly and collapsed with a stick. The murderous aura was overwhelming. The Arhats and bodhisattvas were horrified and could not help but retreat. They knew that they could not stop Sun Wukong even half a step, and they did not dare to approach. Follow him. Soon, behind Wukong, The unfathomable Shen Long also frightened them and they did not dare to challenge. Wukong and Shen Long advanced all the way, unstoppable, until they reached the top of the Lingshan mountain. Outside the lotus platform, Lord Buddha, Lao Sun comes to settle accounts with you today. Sun Wukong was filled with rage, and even Lingshan trembled with this angry shout. Suddenly, the Buddha's light above the Lingshan temple soared into the sky, illuminating the earth below Lingshan, and in this Buddha's light, the Buddha gradually appeared, looking down from above, looking at Wukong with disdain. Sun Wukong, do you still want to be suppressed for 500 years? I didn't take action to kill you back then, but you took advantage of it. The Buddha's voice contained a touch of anger. Now that Lian Temple has been destroyed, how can he not be angry? Tathagata, you are really eloquent. After suppressing Lao Sun for 500 years, he still wants to make Lao Sun grateful. In this case, if Lao Sun smashed your spiritual mountain today, don't you also have to be grateful to Lao Sun? Wukong laughed angrily. Now he has already seen through the true face of the gods and Buddhas in the sky. Absurd. Naturally, the order of the world must be maintained by gods and Buddhas. Otherwise, if the world is in chaos, who will protect all living beings? All living beings are protected by gods and Buddhas, so they should respect gods and Buddhas and believe in teachings. Instead of disrespecting heaven and earth like you, Buddha actually brought out all living beings to refute Wukong. The reproduction, survival, and survival of all things are all determined by the law of heaven. The law of heaven is everything that overrides all things. However, the law of heaven will not bully all things, but will only guide all things to cycle and progress. The so-called gods and Buddhas are just the first to benefit from the way of heaven, and then use the magical powers given to them by the way of heaven to blind all things, making all living beings think that they are the creators of the world and should be above all things. This is the case with you. You and the Jade Emperor use scriptures and teachings to deceive all living beings, making them think that you are the superior rulers. Since you can really create all living things, why would any living beings question you? Chapter 373. At this time, Shen Long on the side spoke slowly and said it clearly. Who are you? After being exposed by Shen Long, the Buddha was immediately shocked. The truth about the gods and Buddhas is exactly what Shen Long said. They just borrowed the power of heaven, but they did evil that heaven would never do, oppressing and deceiving the world. But these things can never be seen by beings other than the gods, so even Wukong, who has realized the Tao, is unaware of it. Only then did the Buddha couldn't help but look squarely at Shen Long, only to find that the latter seemed to be blinded by a thick layer of it was like a cloud, making it completely impossible for him to see through it. On the contrary, he actually realized that Shen Long's sight could see through him at will, and everything about him was invisible. A mere quasi-sage with first-level cultivation. It seems that your world's heavenly law is still a little weak. Shen Long shook his head slowly and revealed the Buddha's cultivation level with just one sentence. What did you say? The Buddha was shocked. His cultivation was easily seen through by Shen Long, and he was even more afraid. Shen Long smiled lightly and did not answer the Buddha. He just continued talking to himself. What the Emperor just said, is it possible? Wrong? As soon as these words came out, the Buddha was suddenly choked and speechless. After a while, he said rather unwillingly, so what? We are led by heaven to become gods, guide all things toward good, abandon evil thoughts, and free all living beings from suffering. This contribution is no less than the creation of heaven. Without the guidance of the gods, the scriptures say that after Pangu created the world, the entire world would be barbaric and desolate. Shen Long shook his head slowly. After all this strong reasoning, I would like to ask you, when heaven guided you gods, did it ever oppress and force you to offer your luck to worship heaven's growth? Since even heaven is not waiting to oppress the gods, what qualifications do you have to oppress all things created by heaven? To help all living beings is to do good, to harm all living beings is to do evil. Solving doubts and answering questions is good, and confusing right and wrong is evil. The goodness in the mouths of you sentient beings means that the hearts are towards you gods and everything is obeyed by you. If there is any disobedience, it is evil. How can it be called good if it is such a confusion of right and wrong? Buddha was speechless again. He never expected that Shen Long could see the way of heaven so thoroughly. Who is he? But those who have a heart for my Buddhism can eventually escape from the sea of suffering and have a smooth life. Making all living beings happy is good. The Buddha still refused to give up his defense. What a high-sounding word. You have deprived all sentient beings of their luck, given them illusory promises, and allowed them to deceive themselves and others about their happiness. How can we call it freedom from the sea of suffering? Just like when Sun Wukong was suppressed under the Five Elements mountain for more than 500 years, causing him to suffer a lot, but depriving him of all his memories and turning him into a lackey. If all sentient beings knew that this is what they call being free from the sea of suffering, do you think they would still be willing to enjoy this, peaceful? Every word Shen Long said was heartbreaking. Almost every word he said was uncovering the fig leaf of the gods, which completely made Buddha angry. Enough. We, the gods, are above all things. Whatever we say is the way of heaven. You are not allowed to talk nonsense here and disrupt the order of the world. The Buddha shouted angrily, and even stopped talking about Buddhist teachings. His words became so simple and crude. What a great one who can conquer all things. If it is like you said, as long as you are defeated and stronger than you, then the winner will represent the way of heaven and can overthrow everything you have. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 374. Shen Long looked at Wukong on the side and signaled with his eyes, "Just teach me the teacher." Wukong picked up the golden cudgel, flew up into the sky, and faced the Buddha head-on. He was not afraid at all. "I want this sky, no longer able to cover my eyes. I want this land, no longer able to bury my heart. I want all living beings to understand my intentions. I want all these gods to disappear into thin air." The golden cudgel flew across the sky and suddenly fell towards the Buddha, symbolizing the killing of gods by all things in the world. "Act recklessly, just because you are just a hussy." Buddha laughed angrily, struck out with a palm to forcefully shake Sun Wukong, and forcefully took down the golden cudgel. Instead, he used the endless power of Buddha's light to forcibly restrain Sun Wukong. "Go back to Five Elements Mountain. This time, 500 years later, you will still be a tool without memory, continuing to work hard for my great cause of Buddhist scriptures." Buddha grabbed Sun Wukong in his hand and laughed angrily. He never concealed Buddhism's purpose again. However, this time Sun Wukong did not give up resistance like he did 500 years ago. "Lao Sun will not let you eat and drink today. Either you kill Lao Sun, or Lao Sun will kill you." Sun Wukong's eyes burst into fire, and the armor around him and the golden cudgel in his hand burned with blazing flames, making the Buddha's palms inexplicably hot. Buddha was horrified to find that the blazing fire spread from his palms to his arms without stopping at all, until finally Buddha could no longer endure the pain and had to let Sun Wukong go. "Even if Lao Sun dies today, he will break the sky." Sun Wukong, whose whole body was enveloped in blazing flames, laughed loudly, like a meteorite falling from the sky, tearing himself and everything he touched into pieces and burning him. The Tathagata was horrified, and the Buddha's light all over his body emerged and turned him into a golden body. The palm reaches out to block Wukong. Boom! The burning Wukong hit the giant golden hand, and his immortal Vajra body was broken every inch. At the same time, the Buddha's real body was damaged. Wukong was actually fighting the Buddha in an attitude of exchanging his life for his life. "That's enough." Shen Long smiled slightly when he saw this. He knew that Sun Wukong was no longer the arrogant and ignorant hussy. His character was already higher than that of the gods. "Sun Wukong, you are about to be destroyed both physically and mentally, if you don't stop." Buddha was terrified when he saw his golden body broken. It was the first time in tens of thousands of years since he became a high-ranking god that he felt this. At that moment, he was in a panic and wanted to stop Sun Wukong, then destroy both body and spirit. "It is better than becoming a tool to be overridden by you." Sun Wukong's roar resounded through the sky. The next moment, the real fire burning all over his body exploded, sweeping across the Buddha's body in an instant, suddenly shattering his golden body. and the Buddha's light receded. At this moment, the Buddha's divinity plummeted, and all living beings, the awe and fear of him, stopped their damn it. The golden body was broken, and the Buddha's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. The divinity of Buddhism was destroyed. Even if you carry out 10 Buddhist scriptures, you cannot restore Buddhism. Although Sun Wukong did not kill the Buddha as he wished, all living beings no longer take the control of gods and Buddhas for granted. This is equally fatal to Buddha. Wukong almost exhausted all his power and fell from the sky like a kite with a broken string. Go! The Buddha stretched out his finger, and a powerful Buddha light penetrated the space and went straight to Wukong, intending to kill him to vent his anger. Chapter 375. However, Shen Long, who had been watching from the sidelines, immediately blocked the Buddha's light and protected the fallen Wukong with the 24th grade pure world white lotus. Fellow Taoists must interfere in my Buddhist affairs today. The Buddha was extremely afraid of Shen Long and did not dare to anger him. If you don't interfere, from now on, the gods and Buddhas in the sky will not have to exist. Shen Long's words immediately caused the Buddha to stop breathing. Shen Long just moved his mind slightly, and the pure white lotus unfolded, and it instantly dissolved all the spiritual power and Buddha nature on Lingshan, turning it into an ordinary mountains. Before the Buddha could understand what had happened, the light of the pure world white lotus had already shone on him. In an instant, all the spiritual power and cultivation of the Buddha were taken away by the pure world white lotus and returned to this person. The heavenly way of the world, not only the Buddha, but also all the Bodhisattvas and Arhats in Lingshan, and all the Buddhist disciples, transformed into the most ordinary creatures. The Buddha lost all his spirituality and stood sluggishly on the top of Lingshan mountain. All the experiences he had experienced over the past tens of thousands of years seemed to have turned into a dream worth noting. He looked at the sky in fear. At this moment, Shen Long was staring at him indifferently, but without the slightest intention to kill. This is the greatest contempt for him. Killing him at this time is simply easier than crushing an ant. Lord Buddha, I never thought you would be here today. How does it feel? Wukong woke up from a coma and saw the Buddha, who had lost all his cultivation. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. The Buddha didn't answer a word, but just stayed in place in despair and didn't say anything for a long time. At this time, he finally realized that those who had been killed by him, the feeling of contempt for all sentient beings. Teacher, please don't kill him. From now on, the pain he will suffer will be deeper than being killed directly. What Wukong said is true. Buddha has lost his divinity that is worshipped by all people. From now on, all living beings can take revenge and despise him. This is more painful than killing him. You can do as you wish. Shen Long nodded slowly, and then ignored the Buddha. Instead, he took a finger from the spiritual mountain and took out Jin Chanzi's soul. Dear Immortal, thank you very much. From now on, the creatures in this world will no longer blindly believe in the gods. They should also know that self-improvement is the way to go. Jin Chanzi thanked Shen Long with great gratitude. Monk, it seems that your memory has not been erased, so you are lucky. Old Sun has saved you again this time. Sun Wukong raised his golden cudgel and burst into laughter. Haha. Wukong, your character is no lower than mine now. From now on, you no longer need to worship me as your teacher. Jin Chanzi was very pleased to see Wukong now. Nonsense. Lao Sun has never treated you as a master before. Sun Wukong sneered. Shen Long looked at the spiritual mountain that had lost its spirituality, but he was not as excited as Jin Chanzi and Wukong. Although the gods cannot control all things at will, the idea of surrendering to the gods has been deeply ingrained in the hearts of living beings for tens of thousands of years. Even if there are no heavens and spiritual mountains, all things are still cultivating, and powerful beings will appear in the future, so that the worship of gods by all living beings will continue to prevail over all things. Shen Long's words are indeed far-sighted. Jin Chanzi and Wukong couldn't help but feel worried. If another one appears, Lao Sun will kill him directly to prevent him from harming all living beings in the future. Chapter 376. Sun Wukong sneered, turning the golden hoop in his hand, his words full of disdain. This method is not feasible. It only treats the symptoms but not the root cause. According to what this respected immortal said, The best way is to completely eliminate all living beings' relevance for gods and let them understand that self-improvement is the way. As expected, Jin Chanzi immediately understood Wukong. You will have to learn more from Jin Chanzi in the future. Shen Long smiled and nodded. Just him? Yes. Listen to the teacher. Sun Wukong was very disdainful of Jin Chanzi, but because of Shen Long's kindness, he still agreed. But the poor monk wonders, how can all living beings give up their obsession with worshipping gods? Jin Chanzi asked Shen Long in confusion. At the beginning, the Buddha planned to use the method of obtaining Buddhist scriptures from the Western heaven to educate all living beings, so that they would think that the Western heaven Buddhist scriptures were hard-earned and study them seriously from then on. Why can't you follow suit? As soon as Shen Long said these words, all Jin Chanzi's confusion was immediately lifted. I understand, poor monk. Thanks for the advice. Jin Chanzi thanked Shen Long with great gratitude. It doesn't have to be this way. You just do it. Wukong, from now on all you have to do is obey Jin Chanzi. Shen Long also simply repaired Jin Chanzi's body so that he would not have to suffer the suffering of reincarnation again. Don't worry, teacher. If you tell me, Lao Sun will naturally do it. Sun Wukong agreed. After that, Jin Chanzi stayed in Lingshan and rewrote several volumes of scriptures. In these newly written scriptures, not only did they contain genuine methods of cultivation, but they also revealed the true face of the gods. Let there be no mystery in it. After the writing of these scriptures was completed, Jin Chanzi and Wukong took them with them and returned to the east, spreading the scriptures everywhere along the way. Even when the Buddha was deprived of all his cultivation, heaven could not avoid the disaster. After the heaven of the 33rd heaven was completely destroyed by Taoist Wu Xin, the Jade Emperor's cultivation was also completely reduced to zero, and the immortals of the heaven turned into a group of mere mortals living in the sky. Who is it? The Jade Emperor was extremely bitter. He never imagined that heaven would fall to this day. 3 years later, on the way back to the east, Wukong carried the scriptures piled up like a hill, but he could still stride forward easily. On the other hand, Jin Chanzi behind him was struggling to move forward with a zine staff, and was left far behind by Wukong. Monk, hurry up. Wukong yawned and looked up at the stars. He happened to see a bright moon. He remembered Zhu Beiji, who often stared at the moon and couldn't help but smile. If that idiot was still here, he would definitely be calling for a break again. Wukong, wait and be the master. Jin Chanzi was panting, still chasing after her with long strides. Wukong and Jin Chanzi marched one after another, and Shen Long, who was watching all this from the sky, also received the reward of the end of the world. Congratulations to the host for completing the process of Wukong's world transfer and being rewarded with world points. Plus trillion points. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Chaos Arcana Chaos Yin Yang instrument. Congratulations to the host for opening a new system function, the creation space. Congratulations to the host for receiving an evolution point reward of plus 99,999 billion points. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the way of heaven in this world and taking control of this world. From now on, all living things in the world are under control. Congratulations to the host. Chapter 377. A series of prompts came into his mind, and Shen Long roughly reviewed the rewards he had received. In addition to the most important world points and evolution points, the Chaos Arcana Chaos Yin Yang instrument also attracted his attention. Maybe it will come in handy in the future. Shen Long put it away casually. Among these rewards, the one he was most concerned about was the new function of the system that had just been opened. Creation space. The host can create creatures and spiritual treasures in this space. Creation of creatures. The highest cultivation level can reach the 8th heavenly sage. The creative spiritual treasure. The level is comparable to the innate treasure. Current level, 1 level. True to its name, it really allows Shen Long to create all things like the creator. This means that as long as Shen Long has the will, he can create whatever he wants. Creatures in various forms can be given the cultivation of the 8th heaven of a saint. As for spiritual treasures, from now on, Shen Long does not need to care about those innate treasures at all. He only needs to rely on this space to continuously create them. Such abilities are really powerful, it's astonishing. And the function description of the system specifically states that if Shen Long's cultivation can reach a certain level, he can even create a world of his own with the Way of Heaven. Creating the Way of Heaven is really interesting. Shen Long couldn't help but feel the Way of Heaven that was connected to his lifeline. If he could really create a Way of Heaven with the same power as it would be equivalent to completely getting rid of the prehistoric world, and he would no longer be limited to a creature in the prehistoric world. At the moment, Shen Long did not hesitate to exchange all world points into evolution points to upgrade the creation space. Ding. Do you want to spend evolution points to upgrade the level of one-click creation space? Yes. Ding. Updates exist. The current level of one-click creation space is 2. Ding. Do you want to spend evolution points to upgrade the space level of a building? Yes. Ding. Updates exist. The current level of one-click creation space is 3. As the level continued to strengthen, the number of evolution points consumed became more and more terrifying, until Shen Long upgraded it to level 6. He stopped. It's not that he doesn't have enough evolution points, but that he needs to reserve some evolution points for emergencies. If the system opens a more powerful one-click function in the future, it would be tragic if there is no evolution point. In any case, this world ends here. After Shen Long gained control of this world, he left and returned to the primitive world. At this time, more than 50 years have passed. During this period, Buddhism had spread all over the East, especially among the human race. However, due to the interference of Taoism, the Buddhist teachings spread in the East have been greatly distorted. In particular, its cultivation methods are incomplete and it is extremely difficult to improve one's cultivation level. This also leads to the fact that the level of Buddhist practitioners in the East is far inferior to those who practice Taoism, so they are always suppressed by Taoism. In addition to the overt and covert fights between Xuanmen and Taoism, the remnants of the demon clan in the past were almost completely disintegrated. They either became the lackeys of heaven in the ancient times, or they could only serve as the eyes and ears of Buddhism. They completely lost the dignity of the demon clan in the past. As for conquering heaven and regaining the demon clan's territory, it has almost become a joke among the demon clan, and no one takes it seriously. All this was expected by Shen Long, but the only unexpected thing was that the cultivation level of the 7 Tai-2 Chaos Demon Gods who were sealed in the Boundless Sea and could not leave, actually dropped to only the original 7th level. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.